Oh, Dave Griffin. Can you?
And Dave, if you would.
Sure. The same major that you referred to along the same lines, from what I've heard and read, he was known about for the longest amount of time about how radical he was. Do you know if, I know that there's an investigation going on, if any heads are going to roll for not taking or doing something with him earlier?
Dave, if you think about it, on a typical town meeting, there'll be somebody saying, my nation's snooping on me. I don't want them snooping on me. I don't want them listening to my phone calls. I don't want them looking at my bank records. I don't want them going to my friends asking them what I'm up to, right? I mean, I've done this for 20 years, and I think it's safe to say, and one of the things that we as a nation have to do is walk a fine line between protecting the citizens and respecting individual rights. Now, yes, it came out days later that he had said some things that should have set off alarms. It came out later after that he was involved in a mosque that was preaching violence against America. But, you know, and yes, somebody along the line should have said, I need you to check this out. On the flip side, we have the system for psychologically, and it's probably not the right word, but mentally evaluating people in the military because of the unbelievable stress of multiple deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan is taxed at the least and is critical at the best. And quite honestly, on a daily basis, I'm getting calls, hey, my loved one is experiencing some problems. Can you have somebody look into it? Now, I'm one of 435, and I bet the other 435 are getting the same call. So the system is taxed. We have put some mandates on that every trooper coming home from theater now has to be evaluated. That mandate wasn't there a few years ago. That's taxing the system. But you're right. You would certainly have hoped that somebody along the line would have noticed that this guy was acting dangerously. I deeply regret that that didn't happen. But to this gentleman's point, he is going to be tried on 13 counts for murder with dozens of living eyewitnesses. I think there's only one outcome for that, and that's going to be the death penalty. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. He was in uniform on a military installation. So both the perpetrator and the victims. So yes, it will be done through the military court system, through the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And it is my understanding, I want to clarify that I'm not an attorney, it's my understanding that on an almost case-to-case basis, the law under the UCMJ is tougher than the civilian equivalent. Yes, sir.
I'm George Pelican from Ocean Springs.
Hey, George, can you speak up, just not for my sake, but for the front?
My name's George Pelican. I'm from Ocean Springs. I'm retired CB.
Thank you for what you've done, George.
So along the lines of this Fort Hood thing, why did a civilian police force even have to come on a military organization, and why did Bill Clinton declare them gun-free zones, a military installation where most elite troops are?
Okay. Two-part question. With the all-volunteer army, and I was in the last days of the draft, okay? With the all-volunteer army, what they have tried to do is, to the greatest extent possible, is to take things non-combat related and put them over on the civilian side for multiple reasons. A, people didn't like being cooks, so we hire out the cooks. People didn't like chipping paint to the greatest extent possible. We send it over to Northrop to get that paint chip instead of there. And in the case of base security, again, for every MP that we freed up from that base and replaced with a civilian who probably didn't want to go to Afghanistan, we could send an MP, and these are critical ratings, to Iraq or Afghanistan. So on a base-by-base basis, the decision is made whether or not security is going to be provided by a contractor or on the base. Fort Hood made that decision.
Well, I think he means...
I want to emphasize this. The base commander at Fort Hood made that decision.
I
you
think
can go to Keesler tonight, and you'll find that they've got their own security.
Well, I think also what he means is, why are our troops allowed to be unarmed on the base?
Yes, sir.
I would just like to say one more thing. I don't know how much pressure the base commander had on him, but the military,
It's not like
democracy is for the
civilian.
civilian people in this.
That's right.
And the military organization
right.
is not for democracy to
I
run.
understand.
It's gotta be run by military regulations, and things have to be done to protect the civilians. We know that.
And sir, going back to your point, I've been to Iraq, Afghanistan, Bosnia, Colombia, a number of places where we had troops in harm's way.
Yes.
Anytime we have troops in harm's way, and this gentleman sitting next to you was in Bosnia, so he'll back me up on this. Anytime we have troops in harm's way, they carry their weapons with them. Now, they clear their weapons before they go into a building, a cafeteria, something like that. But you go into any base cafeteria in Iraq or Afghanistan, that guy's M4 or whatever his weapon is right there at his side all of the time. If you think about it, Fort Hood is not a combat situation.
I was in the military, carried down in guard duty, no ammunition.
Okay, how about this lady? How about this lady?
Yeah, she said her hand up all night.
Have some balls, take a question.
My name is Fabienne Norman.
I'm sorry.
My name is Fabienne Norman. I'm from Ocean Springs.
Your first name again?
Fabienne,
Fabi? Okay, sure.
Fabienne.
I'm sorry,
It's a French name.
beautiful name.
I'm from Ocean Springs, and there's a lot of tension about this presidency in this country. And you live close to Washington D.C.
No, ma'am, I live closer to you than Washington DC. I can turn on my odometer, but I'm guessing less than 40 miles from you.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to know, what do you think that about the presidency? What do you think the good that possibly Barack Obama is doing and the bad? What do you think would be good for the country? What do you think would be bad? I just would like to know about your perspective.
Sure. Number one, let's start with this district by a 2-1 margin voted for somebody else. Okay, same day that I got it, my memory's right, 70-something% of the vote, this district voted, gave John McCain 60-something% of the vote. So it was 2-1 margin. So obviously this district did not want that guy in the White House. And it's just kind of human nature, whether it's your mayor's race, your supervisor's race, school board, when the guy you didn't want wins, there's some resentment. What's the good thing? The most obvious good thing is that one of the last barriers was broken. That no longer can a little black kid grow up and say, you know what, I can't be president, it's not fair to me. That barrier's been broken. And it really is only, and as a Roman Catholic, I distinctly remember how excited the nuns were the day John Kennedy got sworn in as president. And that memory sticks in my mind. I was a second grader, and the nuns were ecstatic because a Catholic got elected, right? So let's face it, it did the same thing for black folks. And that's a good thing because, again, we're an inclusive society. And the only remaining barrier is whether or not we will, and eventually we will, if the Nicaraguans can elect a lady president, the Panamanians can elect a lady president in these macho societies, I hope I live to see a lady president in America as long as she's qualified. That's the good thing. On the bad side, I disagreed with him on the stimulus. I disagreed with him on his budget. I disagreed with him on cap and trade. I disagreed with him on health care. Now, again, going back to what I told this gentleman, there have been a handful of good appointments. Eric Shinseki, former 4-star general, is the head of the VA, lost half a foot in Vietnam, was one of the very first people. I'm going to tell you this because I think it's important. Was one of the, it used to be, and this gentleman from the Naval Academy will know this, it used to be to stay in the military you had to be perfect. You couldn't have any flaws, physically. Shinseki had done really well at West Point. From the earliest days, the senior officer said, that guy's going places, and he loses half a foot to a landmine in Vietnam. They changed the rules for Shinseki to say, you know what, doesn't matter that you're missing half a foot, if you can pass the PT test, you can stay in. That has led to an entirely huge change to now not just be for Shinseki, but for anybody in uniform. If you can pass the PT test, whether it's with an artificial leg, artificial arm, you can stay in. I think that is a great trend in the right direction. He's been a part of that. And I'll give you, there's a guy named McKenzie. He was a special forces sergeant. He lost an arm. Shinseki's a 4-star general, goes to Walter Reed to visit me. And Shinseki says, what can I do for you? And this guy says, I want your deal. What do you mean? He says, look, I know I can't be special forces anymore, but I'm smart, I speak multiple languages, I'm really good at computers. If I can pass the PT test, can I stay in? And Shishaki says, sure, I can't tell you you can't have what I was. This guy did 51 arm push-ups. He said the running, the sit-ups were a piece of cake. 51 arm push-ups like 6 weeks after he lost an arm, by the way, to friendly fire in Afghanistan.